And pitching, the greatest of all pitchers, Leroy Satchel Paige.
To me, those were the first real athletes that I knew, the guys who played black baseball.
Darrell Howard is the author of Black Baseball in Virginia. Howard was among more than 25 people who participated in the Negro League baseball presentation. The event was recently held at the Waynesboro Public Library.
Black baseball in Virginia chronicles the history of the game itself and the players who represented the various communities throughout Virginia who played the game and kept it alive from the 1930s through the late 70s.
In his book, he covers communities in central, southern, and northern Virginia. He recalls some of the players.
Going back to my childhood, the Sims family from Greenwood, they still played. The Blairs from Waynesboro, they played.
Howard says during the time period of the Negro League, there were 20 baseball players per team. He shared with me what attracted him to the baseball players.
The fascination comes from actually being able to see or witness the very end of that era, that event, and being related to some of the players. My uncles still played. They played the Smith family and the Hendersons, my cousins. They played for a Colesville, Virginia team, and when they played, I, got to sit on the bench with them, as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. So, those are memories that will never go away, and that was the thrill of a lifetime.
Howard's love for baseball continues to grow. He got a chance to catch up with other baseball enthusiasts.
My favorite Negro League player was probably Ernie Banks. I grew up in Chicago. I watched Ernie Banks as a kid. He was everybody's idol, including mine. So my favorite Negro League player was Ernie Banks, and another Negro League player I liked a lot just because the stories are so great about this guy, and he had the greatest quotes, Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was colorful. He was his own person. He was fun-loving. He was easygoing, wasn't intense, and he treated baseball the way it was meant to be treated. He treated baseball just as a game.
Gary Sarnoff is the author of 2 books, The Wrecking Crew of 33 and The First Yankee Dynasty. Sarnoff made the presentation entitled History of the Negro Leagues. Sarnoff told the baseball fans about Jackie Robinson, describing him as not only a great baseball player, but an excellent football player as well. Adding to Robinson's illustrious career was the fact he graduated from UCLA. Sarnoff says he was impressed with the crowd's interest in baseball.
They were very knowledgeable. I was definitely surprised. They were definitely baseball fans, and they knew a lot about the Negro League and knew a lot more than some knew more than I knew about it.
Lloyd Pollitt agrees. Ernie Banks was one of the best Negro baseball players in the league.
The Cubs always played in the daytime, and that was my entertainment. I was a farm boy and couldn't do much night baseball. But the Cubs never had lights during his playing time. So it was, I dreamed, and you could visualize him, and I thought, I wanted to be Ernie Banks. He was my hero. He really was.
Back in those days, the game was only aired on live radio.
I didn't even know he was black. I just, because it was radio.
Josh Howard says his favorite Negro player was
Josh Gibson. Always like it's kind of dark, but always like the tragic stories. He was so great and really deserved a chance, and never received that chance to make money on a national stage, and then tragically died so young. It's just a great story.
He says he was affected by the presentation.
Oh, I was very impressed that I didn't know there were so many general baseball fans and knowledgeable people of the Negro Leagues in Waynesboro. I was expecting the session to be smaller, a little bit cozier, and then there was, 20 people who knew a lot and understood a lot and were very excited about this past, and I thought that was great.
In Waynesboro, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.